What's up? Arlen J, mindset coach for Alpha by Prodigy Mindset Gym. I am here with Zack Moore. Zack Moore, NFL agent.
Yes.
Author, Jujitsu fighter, trainer, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
The Soul Podcast.
Oh my gosh. That's the podcast right there.
And it just sounds terrible. You could actually tell somebody's doing it terribly. It's off note too. Oh man. Jack of all trades, master of none can only mean that Jack was in cocksure. I am Arlen J. Welcome to the Cocksure Soul Podcast.
So hyperfocus also has, some bad rap going on with it, but primal focus is really about that will to survive. And we're experiencing a lot of that energy right now.
Yeah.
And people are responding in that sort of panicky way, right? But it's the idea of like, yes, oh my God, shit is going down. We're going to have to somehow get incredibly focused here because we're going to survive, and whatever that means, right?
Yeah. And
we have to take that to our self-development.
Yes. And what we talked about too is one of the parts of my own self-development was failure and dealing with, so where we are right now is in the middle of the coronavirus pandemic. We're here in Austin, Texas. It hasn't really hit Austin in that kind of fashion, but people aren't going out. People aren't, engaging in life in a similar way. And what we're seeing right now is a primal focus that I know from experience. For those that don't know, I'm going to meet a lot of people I don't know through this. I played football in college. I had a neck injury. I got addicted to Percocet, and my self-development as an individual came through the process of getting myself off of that by not going to rehab and figuring out a way to do it on my own. And the primal singular focus of going through a struggle that, like what we've talked about it too, is right. Part of what you're doing with your program right now is you're gonna try to get in front of people that need this right now, that need just a little bit of a boost, like your program that you have, that I've gone through twice, and it's daily emails, it's 1, 2, 3 times a day, reminders. It's broken down into. I've read a lot of self-help stuff. I had a mentor in college who's Alabama sports psychologist for Alabama football. His name's Dr. Kevin Elko. And he talks about trust the process, and he boils, and part of what self-help is and part of what you're doing with your mindset is you're taking, and part of what I learned from reading Stoicism in the Daily Stoic in this book that just has these passages every day is what you're providing people is a template of these are the important things to focus on. This is a reminder that you need to give yourself the space to be put in the proper mindset to deal with what you're trying to deal with, which is super important right now because I know personally I can get distracted by the news of what's going on right now. I can get distracted by the things that don't have to do with where I need to be going.
It's usually a focus issue. It's always a focus on staying in that creative space, which is the Alpha program, the Alpha brain wavelength, right?
And it's focusing on the objective and focusing on the proper objective. And the primal focus is part of what I'm getting to with the addiction piece of it is that I was forced into a place where I had a problem that was standing in front of me that was a life or death issue. I mean, I've now had 2 friends who have died of fentanyl in fake Percocets. Or heroin or whatever. So or just being the eventual path of being addicted to Percocet is heroin for everybody. Right. So eventually you're leading down a path toward death. And what's interesting right now is that a lot of nurses and a lot of people in the healthcare industry are going to be tested to their extreme. And what they're going to find out is that they're going to be able to rely on their training. That this was the moment that they've been working toward.
And that's why I'm smiling right now throughout everything you're saying. Is that if you keep your head in a certain space, you're going to get there. You do it in the best way possible.
If you have the proper training and you're set up with the problem that I'm usually talking about football, so I usually don't get into these topics. So this is my first
And
time.
that's what's fantastic about this, because to understand an athlete, this is what you have to understand as an athlete to excel.
Yeah, and you have to, I'm now doing Jujitsu is that I have a much better mindset at almost 30 than I did at, in my early 20s, or even when I was high school or whatever. And on the primal focus point of, is that I've also gotten the training and I've also gotten the information, right, to get out of my addiction, to get out of my own way.
Yeah, right.
I got a lot of information that then gave me the skills to move forward and solve the problem.
And for somebody like you in the Alpha program, and just these topics in general, is we just need that recall.
Yeah.
And it's a recall.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You need a mantra. You're essentially what you are providing through that, right? Like we talked about. We're not being salesy on this, but it gives us a launch.
But these topics and what it's all about are the topics that we need to be focusing on. So
exactly.
It's just going to happen as a byproduct. So let's continue.
Right. So it's like with the Dr. Elko guy. He says trust the process, right? And what you're providing with your program is that there were a bunch of pieces within there that I keep seeing it every day. It's a super positive thing for me because I'm reminded, hey, like put your phone down a little bit more. Write down what you have the piece in there where it's write down what you're trying to become, what your piece, what your objective is. And I put that on my phone for a while on the
screensaver.
Yeah, on the screensaver. So it was like, and my focus was I'm going to be a highly sought after NFL agent. I'm going to be a champion level.
That's a good one.
Right? Like, so I'm going to be a highly, right? Like and it's not, and it's actually, it's the right messaging too. That's one of the things that we've learned over time individually and through all the work that we do is that properly focusing your energy rather than being like, I'm going to be the best NFL agent. If I instead change that to something I can control, which is my expertise in contracts, my expertise in salary cap, my ability to market myself.
Yeah, that's like the construal level theory. How intricate do we get with it? How do we fine tune it?
Yeah.
I mean, we have to sit in that frequency of that, right?
Yeah.
So you fine tune it down into that.
Yeah. Right? For me, when I say most sought after, is that's something I can act on. That's something that I can produce.
It gets your mind thinking about what does that mean exactly, right?
Yes.
And when you create what that means, your mindset becomes more expansive. You start to see every opportunity in a different way.
And I noticed that from that is that, I'm in this place right now where I'm working with a client from UT. I'm working with a friend of mine who I know through going to the Combine every year, the NFL Combine. I run into him. He's not in Austin, so he had me take over some of the Austin work with this kid. Yeah. He's providing me an opportunity to work with somebody and to be a part of this kid's journey. And to ingratiate myself within the UT community. So I've got that connection. I've got another agent that I do another specific kind of work with. And I got another. So when I say most highly sought after, that might actually look like a situation where I'm this individual who works with various agents because of my skill sets and because I'm here in Austin, because I'm in Texas, where it's like I go out and I recruit players. And it's not even like, hey, I work with this team. It's like, hey, I work with a few different people. My goal with you is that you and I are going to establish a connection because I'm an athlete as well. I'm young. I can have conversations with you, athlete to athlete. And, I'm also going to partner with an agent who can help me with the other side of the agent industry, which is, you've got to invest in the player. You've got to invest in his training. You've got to invest in... There's a lot of money that goes into it. So I'm not that money guy, but I am that guy who can go out there, recruit you, put you in a position where you're going to succeed, have the conversations with the teams and I have established the credibility through the books I've written, which are my first book's Caponomics Building Super Bowl Champions, which is an analysis of the, at that point, 23 Super Bowl champions of the salary cap era, and I look at how they spent their money. And I created theories and a whole structure for how you run an organization through that. And now I just completed and I'm in the editing process of a second book with a company called Triumph Books. They're one of the more respected sports publishers in the world, in America, whatever. And it's going to be a second book currently titled Caponomics: How NFL Champions Are Built and Dynasties Are Destroyed. And so what I've done with that, right, is that I've put myself in this spot where I've written something that has built me credibility with the teams. When I go to them with a client,
100%.
When I go to them with a client, and when I go to a client too, I'm kind of working both sides of it, where it's like, I can say to them, like, yeah, like, I know you're talking to this agent and that agent, but first off, you and I are probably going to establish a rapport if we're similar.
I have to stop you. That's not the format. Who cares? I got to stop you because, man, the amount of work you put into that, and I know this, the amount of work you put into
you see me. We met each other in a coffee shop.
100%. And I've run into you at other shops. We have this cycle. We have this focus that we bring to this, man.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of work you put into a building block before you get on the field with them. That focus you had, man. Talk to me about that process. What was that like? Like, I'm always curious, man, because I know what you put in.
It was long. So I'm super...
This is on top of jujitsu. This is on top of podcasts. There's so many things that he has going on, but he's kicking ass in all of them. And that's what I'm talking about. And you still brought in this element. It's powerful.
The thing for me is that I'm super, like, I always joke around, and it's part of my, it's like, I say it because it sounds so religious, and I'm not a religious person, but I also recognize the AA, and AA, a lot of people come out of AA and they're super religious, and I'm like, I'm not going to be a super religious guy that comes out of AA, right? But I do say, I'm not that guy.
Oh yeah, man, it's just, there's nothing wrong with it either. It's just
nothing wrong with it.
I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, right. So, but I do say like, and I joke around about it at the gym. I'm like, we are the most blessed. Like, we have the best gym in the country. It's crazy. It's called 10th Planet Austin. We have people come from all over the world to come do seminars and to come train with us. And so, I'm almost 4 years into this jiu-jitsu journey, and I've gotten to learn from so many of the best guys. And so I joke around with our team, and I'm like, we are the most blessed. Fascinating to me, just these certain little triggers that you can instill in, like mantras. Like when I say something like that, I mean, when I say like blessings to a friend or whatever, it's like, it puts me in a certain mindset. It puts me in a thankfulness. It puts me and that's what you get out of religion, and that's what we're like all in this area where it's fascinating to me because I can bust balls about any idea, right? And I was listening to some hymns, and like I was like, hymns, I think like they were like religious hymns, and I was like, I realized what I was listening to, and I'm like, this is the same shit you listen to in yoga. We're all just trying to like have religion without having religion, which is a fascinating place to be in because we all are in this spot where we don't necessarily trust like a large organization of religion.
It's pretty epic what you just said there. Go on.
Because we're all trying to pull it out, and that's part of the chaos that exists in the world is that so people don't have religion right now, and so they have nothing to fall back on when shit's going crazy, and they're in this place. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it's like it's. There are certain things that we need to pull from religion, and I think that when we are talking about mindset, we are talking about the things that we're trying to build within ourselves. Mm-hmm. You have to get to a place of principles, and that's some of the stuff I write about too. That's some of the stuff about jiu-jitsu. And what we're talking about too, the Renaissance man that you've been nice enough to call me is that.
No, man, when you put in the work.
Yeah, and the thing is,
like you said, the word you used also earlier, we're talking on just the amount of logic that comes with that.
It's because if you're trying to excel at multiple things, eventually you realize all the things that you're trying to excel at are the same.
Okay, go on.
So it's like, I mean, as I get better at writing, as I get better at jiu-jitsu, my girls' kids, like they're one of them's the older one. He's like, you say everything's like jiu-jitsu, and I'm like,
you've got the metaphor on everything going on, huh?
Yeah. I've already got like the dad talk, like the shit, man. You're annoying, bro. Uh-huh. And like, but he, we're cool.
Yeah, they're gonna be massively impressive on their minds though. In such a great way.
Because what I'm trying to say to them is that like you're gonna keep getting better at jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. And what I need you to understand is that if you engage in something on a habitual level and you have, an intense focus in that, if you have intense focus in what you're engaged in,
again, thinking about that, going back to that, we're going around again to primal focus.
Yeah.
It's that right there, what you're telling them and teaching them. That's really important to put into kids.
Yeah. It's what they need to understand, and I think that my generation, my parents, and the way that they express this is you can be anything you want to be, which is a good thing to say.
It's positive, all right.
It's positive, but it's not the full picture.
Why is that?
Because you can't be everything you want to be.
But I get what you're saying. Get a little bit more detail there.
Yeah, get more detailed into
level theory. Bring that in.
Yeah, bring it into if you do this thing every day that you want to do, you can be that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the next step of that evolution of advice giving, mentorship.
Yeah. Go back to the cocksure soul. I always say that about our soul, man. Like, there's a lot of people out there that talk about. You see programs, you see ads, you see whatever it is on the idea that I'm going to teach you to manifest everything. Anything. Yeah. That's not possible. When it comes down, when we get dialed in, we start to really sense what's not for us. And when all the not for us goes away, what's left is for us and our purpose.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the more in line you are with your daily processes and your the more in line, consider when you're really eating healthy and then you eat some shit.
Yeah. Good times.
You feel like shit. Right?
Yeah,
right? But when you're always feeling like shit, you have no idea what feeling good or shitty feels like. You're just like, this is how I feel. And so to that end is that when you're consistently doing the right thing, you can identify the wrong thing more easily. When you're getting off that path of what you're saying. And the thing is too is that sometimes you need to fuck up. Right. To understand what right and wrong feels like.
That's a good segue into not training just for your goals, right? And when we say training, I'm speaking of you have to have many variables of training going on.
Yeah.
You have the physical training, the mindset training.
Yeah.
You know how to tap back in, and you're utilizing it every day. You're writing it and putting it on paper and telling people, and creating these amazing bridges right now because of it, right? Mm. So that right there, speak a little bit on that, a little bit more.
So on the topic of what I get to do when I'm really able to do what I want to do, which because it's not always writing. Sometimes I'm doing consulting. Sometimes I'm doing other stuff. But when I'm really in a space where I'm writing about a book, or really what I really love is when I'm writing and I get to do jujitsu and I'm in flow state all day. My whole day revolves around the source of creativity, the muse, the whatever you want to call those things, is that this space that you become, that through putting in the stuff that I'm able to do when I am doing those things, is that process. And get back to the question for me again. Get back to the question for me again.
No, just continue. Well, really the whole point of this is training for adversity, really.
Yeah.
You're not training just to get in the zone and then get your shit done and fucking kill it. You're really training for when the shit hits the fan.
Yes.
Because ultimately those are the big picture pivot points.
Yes.
In your whole entire career, or as a parent, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Right? So training for our adversity. Get on that. That's what I'm talking about.
Yes. And so jiu-jitsu itself is the training of adversity. It's just it's a grind. It's a really big grind, and all the activities that I'm engaged in. This is what I was kind of getting to too. For whatever. Right? Because I could tell where you're going with it, and the engagement in these difficult activities and the leveling up process of it places you at a higher level than you previously were at, which puts you in this position where when something difficult comes along, you've been constantly practicing dealing with something difficult.
Yeah.
And you're able to, when I talk about flow state and when I talk about these things, is that I'm able to identify the proper mental space that I need to be in to execute on things. And the other thing about jiu-jitsu is that you're dealing with very stressful positions. But you're dealing with them in a controlled environment. So you're practicing being somewhere stressful over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. So I think I may have said this to you, or I may have said this to my girlfriend about when we're dealing with a difficult scenario in our personal lives, I don't have the nervous energy I used to have that used to come from here and end up here. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
The increase in blood pressure, the nervousness, the anxiety.
And that's what we're seeing a lot of people experiencing and feeling.
Yeah.
That's where they're coming from.
Yeah. And yes. And like, it's affecting all of us, right? We're dealing like in some way. For me, it's like, I know what my issue is when something crazy like this is going on. You end up distracting yourself with like reading about some shit you can't control anyway.
Yeah, man. It's been pretty epic. I gotta expand a little bit on that topic right there, man. Just like bringing in alpha at this time. This is something I've been working on for. I would compile this all into 16 years from becoming a personal trainer to immediately incorporating meditation, because I came in as a personal trainer and I was coming from meditation.
You did meditation first?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And so I brought it right in immediately. And the fascinating expanding on that into going into working with children, worked for 8 years with Dr. Liddy Hazen out in Beverly Hills. I was her head trainer. That experience right there, working with children and then seeing firsthand how does self-talk work with these children. And they were able to pick it up.
We had that conversation about, you and I both did, we were talking about our own personal, your soccer stuff, my football stuff, and the programming that we take from childhood, whether it's your parents or something else or some influence that you have, whether you're a kid, maybe you're the kid that gets bullied, so your self-talk's negative because you just always felt like shit. Maybe you're the kid whose parents weren't all that nice to them. Maybe you're the whatever. Maybe maybe people made you feel a certain way, so that became your self-talk and your story. And what was interesting too, we had the conversation about football players and about how so much of their mental success is reliant on, so much of their success in football is reliant on their mental success. And what's crazy about the sport of football is it takes such singular focus in the athletic aspect of it, the football part of it, the grind of being a football player is really hard. So a lot of those people are so solely focused on that they can push some personal development aside. And I was talking about that myself, is that I was always so engrossed in athletics that some of the issues that I knew I had personally, even at like a young age, I was like, I don't know how to work through that problem, so I'm just going to keep working on this singular focus thing.
Right.
But then I eventually ran into problems in my 20s.
I believe that's where hyperfocus comes from, hyperfocus, and it's got a bad rap, and it's based off of that. It's where you have the blinders on, and everything else is getting destroyed because
it's the really rich guy who's overweight.
Okay.
Right. Think about that as like just like an image. Not to disrespect that guy, like saying he's on the wrong path or something, but like there's the guy that doesn't have the full thing.
Yeah, man, and that's the primal focus. That idea, you get in touch, man. It's such as we're discussing about eating, and I've been eating one meal a day.
Yeah.
Right, and it gets you so connected to your body. You're so aware of everything that's going on, like how cleansed you are based off of that. And that brings in that sort of consciousness, that level where you're looking around and you're seeing what everybody else is experiencing. And clearly we're seeing a lot of anxiety out there, right? But you just kind of look at it, just kind of like, okay, that's what's going on.
Yeah.
And then you're able to go, what's important right now?
Yeah.
Is it the kids? Is it the girl?
Yeah.
Is it me? You know what I mean? And then you do that well and you still look around and you step into the world and execute. But that's what I'm saying. That primal focus is really that pure focus where you're talking about that one-sided thing where you're just going to crash. So when you were younger, you were playing ball.
Yeah.
You focused in on that one thing. Everything fell apart. What came from there? What was the next experience that kind of took you in a whole different direction?
Well, the falling apart part was like, the addiction part, right? And then the neck injury. And then I was presented with...
And that was from ball.
Yeah, I have 3 herniated discs. And I still do jiu-jitsu, but I do jiu-jitsu like when my neck doesn't hurt. My neck's hurt for like 2 months, so I took a little time off. But just been, that's the thing about martial arts is that there's always some other shit you can be doing. So now I've been running, I've been doing yoga and doing my body weight stuff and doing a little bit of lifting, and that's one of the things about martial arts is that you get to jiu-jitsu. You get to spar every single day. If you go to training, you can spar if you're healthy, you can spar every single day. So you're constantly put in a testing protocol of like, I'm engaging with this same person that I engage with on a routine basis. And I kind of am starting to know what he's doing for training outside of this. I kind of know what my basic physical training is around the sport, and I also know how certain exercises, yoga, running, lifting, how those three things, how I need to balance those with my time on the mat. And maybe right now it's yoga and bodyweight stuff and cardio.
And why is that? What kind of leverage are you getting out of that?
One of the things is that I need to fix my neck, right?
Because that allows you to.
You got to listen to your body too, which is another fascinating part of the whole image,
right.
the whole picture is that developing, and this is to say too, is like that guy who's overweight and he makes a ton of money, he's doing something right.
Yeah.
You know, him and I have different paths, and when I talk about someone in what can seem like a negative way, I don't mean to, because there's also an interesting aspect of our society that we talked about last night, is that when you get out of college, you get dropped. A lot of people are getting dropped into this position where I'm underwater. I have to pay for my college loans, so I don't really have time to think about all the Renaissance man bullshit. I need to go get an insurance gig. I need to go get this.
And not to say that you can't get into that zone. It just takes much more experience usually.
It takes, well, like here's one thing about stamina, right? Is that we're talking about nurses and stuff, is that like I have crazy stamina rolling, doing Jujitsu, right? I can roll for an hour or 2 hours straight, which is crazy,
That would
right?
be good for somebody like me. I'd be winded.
An hour or 2 hours straight, right?
Yeah.
But if you put me standing on my feet for 13 hours as a nurse, I'm sure that after one day of doing that, I'm gonna need to sleep X amount of hours more, because I don't have that kind of stamina. So the people that we have at the front line of what we're dealing with right now have built up stamina over a long period of time. They've built up their training, and this is their training camp. My first year in college, my first year at the University of Rhode Island, our head coach was Darren Rizzi. He came from Rutgers.
Give me several stories in that time period, man.
One really fascinating aspect of going through training camp is that it's like this incredibly difficult endeavor, and it's boot camp in a sense. It's a military like. So in both my books, I mentioned that one of the foundations of football is that it comes out of a time period in the late 1800s where there were a bunch of rich men who wanted their sons to not be soft. They realized that their sons...
You're talking about the start of football?
College
football?
Where were the main college football programs? They were in the Northeast?
Yeah, man.
They were at the Ivy Leagues?
They were at maybe 3.5 years, somewhere around there, right after the Civil War. So we went from fighting the states in war to fighting on the field.
Exactly. So what the people at these institutions, Harvard, Yale, all the variety of all those Ivy League schools, Rutgers was one of them early on, Princeton, at all these schools is what they wanted to develop hardiness in their kids, because these were hard men. They made money, but to make money at that time period, you weren't some intellectual, who an academic or, not to poo-poo anyone, but like you're a fucking hard man, right? Mm-hmm. So, and that's one of the other things about why we need to do the training outside of whatever we do, is that we have to stay hard. Like, there's a great quote by William James, one of America's first philosophers. He says, pugnacity was ingrained in our bones over the course of like 1,000 years. And, we're not going to breed it out of us right now. Like, there's some aspect of us.
That's good news.
Yeah, thank God. But why do people act out? Why do people act weird? Why do people lash out? Why do people have anxiety? Because in a lot of these cases, people aren't emptying that battery. They aren't dealing with that aspect of the human condition, which is I need to go hard. I need to exhaust myself. I need to deal with struggle and all that David Goggins stuff. You know Goggins?
I don't know, man.
He's like this crazy Navy SEAL dude who runs.
That's probably why. I'm just now starting to get into that mindset from that area, and it's quite interesting. But go on.
So one of the things he was always like, you can't hurt me, stay hard, all this. He's always posting crazy shit on the internet, and crazy inspirational. Like I'm out here running a bunch of. He also set a pull-up record.
Oh man, I know who he is.
Yeah, he set a pull-up record of like thousands of pull-ups over the course of 24 hours. His hands were bleeding, his hands were all fucked up. But like the thing is that there's a lot of people now that recognize, and it's part of the Joe Rogan phenomenon too, is that he keeps having, he's kind of that Renaissance man, and that's why he's
been for a while, yeah.
That's why he's drawn in so many young men, is that he understands that there is this primal being within us that we need to feed, and this animal that we need to deal with, and this struggle that we need to go through so that we don't fuck up. You know, when I was dealing with my own issues, like, I wasn't going hard, and it's because of the neck injury, of course. Partially. When you're done with football, you're done. You're just like, I don't want to do shit no more. You're like, I've been lifting for 8 years, and you also like, all you've been doing is lifting in some aspects, in some of your training. Like, you don't have the well-rounded totality of the athlete.
You've got to mix it up though, man. Because I go through it too. Like, I'm just like, okay, man, I've been lifting weights for a really long time now, consistently. I have, you know, obviously time periods where maybe I'm just flying too much.
Yeah.
Something's going on. It throws my schedule off. I'm not quite there. But throughout the years, man, consistent.
Yeah.
But you have to mix it up. You have to step into that running. Because that's a new neural pathway. We got to change things up. I get people who I talk to on the mindset level, and they're just like, no, I've got it going on. I'm too busy to change anything. Well, if you actually change your whatever primal focus, all the things we've been talking about, you start to dial in, and you can do it, and you do whatever it is that you have going on better.
Yes. And the thing about, because you're talking about, so that's what's cool about martial arts, is that you have to do everything, because you're also getting data every day. Every time you roll, you're getting data on how do I maximize my abilities on the mat.
Yeah.
Right? Like, how do you're getting a consistent feedback loop of, this is how this impacts this is how I keep going, this is what works, this is what doesn't. And that well-rounded nature that you become as a martial artist is something that carries over into your life, where you recognize the need to be well-rounded in all these various ways to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish in this other domain. And that's why I tell the kids, like, it's all about, like, it's, you know, like, Jujitsu is everything. Everything is Jujitsu. Everything's the same.
Profiles from even the late 18th centuries we're talking about when it comes to consciousness and where it would be today as being the superhuman. And the superhuman today are people like LeBron or whoever else, whether you like them or not. They've got this ability. They've got this excellence of mind.
Yeah. Because LeBron is supremely talented, but you don't get to be LeBron and still be performing at 34 without being completely well-rounded. And because the thing is he signed a $1 billion deal with Nike. So imagine how you might change if $1 billion came along. Just like if you weren't ready for it. You know, like if you weren't ready for it, you might just be like, okay, I got $1 billion. You know, like I'm gonna relax. I'm gonna take my foot off the pedal.
I seriously doubt that dude's gonna do that. Or I don't think that anybody really should, because whatever got you that $1 billion, guarantee that you're gonna parlay that into some other circumstance, and you're gonna be executing. You know, you're gonna be yes, exactly. Yeah. That's exactly it. He's going to be executing on a certain level in different arenas, and he's just going to move that mindset into the next thing. You know, what's interesting about working with soldiers or certain things is like you get this warrior mindset as a soldier, but you have to come back in after you're out of the military. And how do you translate that warrior mindset in there?
To this world.
It's about, and some of these people have it excellent. We were talking about somebody earlier on this tip, right? Where it's like they have that excellent ability to just go, I'm going to take it into mowing the lawn and exercising and eating right. And I'm going to open up this thing that I know I'm going to do, which has always been my greater purpose. They've always got a greater purpose.
Yeah.
There's the difference between that.
That's the other thing about what you're saying with the cocksure soul is purposeful.
We
talked about
that's the soul.
We talked about the person that I know that that they spend money on the image. They spend money on what they think is important, and what they spend their time and their resources on projecting something. But what's the purpose?
And those who are like the image, and if the image is in, say, the arena of fashion, and you're a great fashion icon, then that's okay, right?
Yeah,
It's a purpose there. There was something else going on. But that's the thing, is like we all have some sort of significant purpose. We do. There's a lot of people that are a little bit asleep, and they don't know that there's so much asleep. They're not aware.
Yeah.
They're not dialed in. They're not aligned in a way where they're just like, okay, I'm going to pivot. I'll keep on pivoting. I'm going to keep on until something opens up. And that's what I say. Somebody asked me, even not too long ago, how do you find your purpose? Well, it's really simple. You're shown every day. You're shown every day by what doesn't feel right. The trick is pivot away from what doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't pivot. That not feeling right thing somehow maybe got comfortable. Maybe like you said, I had a burger. And you know what? I had one the day before yesterday too. Yeah. And I had it. I'm probably going to have one tomorrow. And then all of a sudden, you're out of whack.
It's when you open up the door to drinking, and then you end up having a beer here, a beer there.
And that's it too, man. Is I like to drink. I like to have a good time in the sense that. But I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait to where I know that energetically, that's the time. And maybe there's a purpose. There's also, hey, slow the fuck down. Injuries, or you get to rest up a bit, rest your mind from writing, editing, whatever it is. And the time says I can do this now. You know what? I think I can party too. You know what I mean? But you're doing it at the right time. But if you're doing it at other times, you're countering the end game.
Well, that's the thing, is that I don't really like to engage with, like, we're in Austin, we're in a place where it's great to go out, but I don't really engage in going out much.
Okay.
Because it doesn't serve my purpose. And when I go out, I can feel it. It doesn't serve what I want.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I completely get what you're saying, man.
I get enough social interaction from a dinner and a jujitsu, going to dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's part of what's so valuable about jujitsu, is that you are in a social activity that is positive rather than negative. And so much of our social activity in our world can be negative. Where are you going to go meet a girlfriend? Oh, I'm going to go out and have some drinks, meet her at the bar.
Uh-huh.
Maybe that's not the best place to meet your, just a scenario, right? We can all meet a wonderful person at a bar, but just like, energetically, whatever, just like, if you're looking for a certain thing, is that the best place to look?
Well, it's always going to be reflected right away. I mean, okay, we know we like to do this, or we're here to maybe meet you, but is this really what we do?
Yeah.
So, but you're experiencing, you're surrounding yourself, and again, I know we talk about this, who you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
I find it's always interesting with my circle. I tend to probably be the one that talks about consciousness most. Well, I mean, I hope so, because I'm talking about these things. I'm talking about these things on a podcast here with you, and I'm talking about in my program and all that. So I hope that's the case, but I still make sure that they are reflective of that quality, right? And I'm not saying everybody has to do it on my level, but once we start to wake up a little bit more to that and searching out those quality times and just sticking to the plan, staying the course of, like, I know it's better at dinner.
Yeah.
I know it's better at this, tight little meeting or a jujitsu.
Yeah.
I'm going to actually make that my whole day.
Yeah.
All the things that make things better, I'm going to do that all day long.
And those are the decisions that we're talking about, going this way rather than that way. And so it's just, I think one of the biggest things about getting going in the right direction is just breaking everything down into what decision am I going to make and where is that going to lead me. And really, like, you engage with your daughter on it. Yeah. I think I engage with my girls' kids on it, where it's like, hey, like, this is better. And like what they're recognizing is that they're getting attention for the right thing.
Right.
And we're talking to them like adults more and more. And they're getting a little bit more responsibility in terms of how people treat them. And then you keep going in this way. And so we had this conversation. We were inside with them for almost 2 weeks over the last, with everything going on. And there were times where we had to raise our voice. But we have such a steady, balanced perspective on things that we've ingrained in them that they understand now that when we get frustrated, it's because they haven't been listening and because we've told them a certain thing, because they trust us, because we've been telling them, go in this direction. They're seeing the reaction. They're seeing how much better their life is and how much less anxiety they feel because they're making the right decisions. So then they bounce back from us raising our voice a little bit and being like, going back to being sweet kids, and just moving, and just going the right way.
it reminds me of my daughter staying up late at night if she wanted to stay up late at night and watch something.
Yeah.
But I was always very real with her in the sense of tomorrow, if you are exhausted because of it, and all of a sudden have the impulse that you might be whining about something, your energy's low, you're not responding in a maybe just an upbeat way. It doesn't have to be upbeat, it doesn't have to be over the top, but maybe you're not responding well at all. Then I want you to be aware that that is an indication that your thoughts are off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're just that simple. A feeling came from your thought. So I want you to be so aware tomorrow that as soon as that happens, because you decided to stay up late, which you can, then you take full responsibility to how you think through your emotions tomorrow. Going back, just to close out, cocksure, it's funny, it's the idea comes, also tied into the Renaissance man. And the saying follows within my own consciousness of Jack of all trades, master of none. I say Jack of all trades, master of none, means that Jack wasn't cocksure.
Yeah.
But that's the cocksure we're talking about. He's not, maybe that saying is because you stopped doing the work.
Yeah.
When you do the work for consciousness, then you can become a Renaissance man, a Jack of all trades. These sayings are false.
You have to be engaging with the processes that you're engaged in on a daily practice way.
And you got to get so intricate with it. I say this construal level theory, which is basically just becoming more intricate with something, designing it better. I heard somebody say, something about traveling in the sense that if you book a flight to Europe and you put it off from a year, you're not going to plan or anything like that. But if you say you're going next week, you're going to lay out your trip and you're going to get really intricate with it. You're going to take that time. I didn't have the time. I should be working. Now I'm going to get really designed with this. And that's where we're putting our mindset first. We can get really designed with this. Construal level theory is just getting really dialed in on things. And that's that internal work. But Jack of all trades, master of none just means that Jack wasn't cocksure.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to get to on a soul level, on a purposeful level, right? Which has been the topic. I'm talking here with Zack. Again, Zack, tell me about your things. Tell me about your books. Tell me about where people can find you. All sorts of good stuff.
You can find me at Zack Moore NFL. You can spell me Zack with a K. So Zack Moore NFL on Twitter, Instagram. Find my first book, Caponomics, Building Super Bowl Champions, available on Amazon. If you want to roll, we're always at 10th Planet Austin. And if you are looking at this in the fall, my second book with Triumph Books will be out, called Caponomics, How NFL Champions Are Built and Dynasties Are Destroyed.
So psyched, man.
And those will be in bookstores, those will be on Amazon, those will be everywhere. So you might be able to buy it like at a real bookstore.
You were talking about a copy, like get the original copy.
Oh, get the original copy of that first book, because that's just gonna be out of print.
Yeah.
So one day, hopefully you can stockpile a bunch of my first editions and sell them for your own profit. But
that's sick, man.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm joking around with that. Like they'll be worth a lot of money one day. But hopefully they are.
Yeah, man. That's it. That's where you. This is what we train for.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's where we're trying to go.
Stay the course.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing is that the growth that comes from staying the course is the reward, and the end results and all the things that come along with it are the reward as well. They're going to take time, and they're going to take you being focused and dedicated to personal growth, dedicated to just becoming the best, most well-rounded thing that you can be. So,
Yeah, man. Renaissance man.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
100%.
Powerful, brother.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Hell yeah. Thank you all for listening.
Yeah.
The Cocksure Soul. Out!
Rex in the head!